We're supportive of the governor's May revision proposal to provide 3% for increased access to our system. If you look at the last couple of years of trends as we've come out of the economic downturn where we were unfortunately turning students away due to budget cuts, we've seen an upward trend as districts ramp up their hiring, they get the word out, the outreach out to their communities, that the community colleges are again open for business. We're funded for course sections to provide those important instructional services to so many students who need them. Our enrollment trend is on a positive trajectory upward. Last year, our growth was a little bit over 1.25%. This year so far, we're up to about 1.9%. So we think that trend is on an upward tilt. And we would note as well that even if we stay at roughly 2%, we have about 8,000 unfunded FTS out there, which we would like to be funded to maintain. And that alone would justify another 0.5% above the 2%. So we think with even a small uptick in a trend that 3% is attainable.
Okay. I wonder if you could elaborate a bit what we've heard, of course, as you mentioned in the prior issue, that diverse districts, diverse challenges and populations and so forth. So how does this flush itself out with some areas, even in my own assembly district, are different than others as far as, their need to expand, and some areas across the state are flat or maybe going the other direction. So how do you flush itself out to make sure that some areas that want to be able to, address the growing need for a skilled workforce are able to accommodate all students?
Well, Mr. Chair, that's an excellent question. It's certainly true that not all 72 districts are growing at the same rate. In the north, in particular, we're seeing a lot of districts with slow growth or in some cases even a decline. The Bay Area in particular is also slow. Some rural districts are not seeing much in the way of new growth. And we think this just essentially reflects the demographic trends within the state. Now, if you look at other areas of the state, such as Riverside County, Orange County, Los Angeles, San Diego, we're seeing very, very robust growth there. So we think we have a very fortunate budget year where instead of picking slot A or slot B, and that we're able to meet a variety of needs within the system. So we can have a relatively healthy percentage for growth to meet the access where it's needed. We certainly want to serve students who need that education if we can afford to do so, while also having other areas in the budget that support student services, that support operational costs, so that every district is getting something positive out of this budget.
So you're confident that the 3% growth statewide will allow you to achieve the goals in a diverse community college system?
Yes, I think so.
Now, how would that work? I mean, let's say, is there a district that wanted to expand by 7% or some really high number? What are some of the highs you see as far as the possibility of growth?
Yeah, I think we...
give me an example of a community college that has a high number, and what number would that be?
Yeah, I think looking at, say, the one that comes to mind is North Orange Community College District. We believe they could grow well over 5%. We do have a revised funding formula that was put into statute last year, and we work with stakeholders within the legislature and throughout the community to develop this year that weights the growth factors toward districts of high need. So the formula does favor districts that have that disadvantaged population. The formula is also flexible enough to take a look at where the enrollment trends have been very high in recent years, so we can tick that up to those districts that are growing strongly. One thing we do in our system is that we will reallocate funds. So if I were to assign your district, say, 2% at the beginning of the year and you didn't grow at all, we can reallocate that 2% to other districts that are growing in excess of their formula. So we are flexible enough to meet the needs in the state.
Okay. We will hold this issue open. Issue 5, basic skills proposal.
All right. The May revision includes 2 basic skills proposals totaling $62 million, both of which are one-time funding proposals. First, there's $60 million to establish a basic skills and student outcomes grant program to assist community colleges in improving delivery of basic skills instruction by adopting or expanding the use of evidence-based models of placement, remediation, and student support that accelerate the progress of underprepared students. estimates are about 70% of community college students come in needing remedial instruction. So this is a very important area to create some change or improvement in that would result in positive student outcomes. So we have that proposal. And then secondly, there's a $2 million proposal for a community college CSU Basic Skills Partnership pilot program to provide incentives for community college districts and the CSU to coordinate their efforts to provide instruction in basic skills to incoming CSU students in an efficient and effective way.
Okay.
Judy Hyman, LAO. As you know, Mr. Chair, a very large majority of community college students enrolling are assessed as needing, as not being ready for college level English and math and need basic skills instruction. So it's a big problem. Success rates are quite low. It's very important to fix this problem. There have been some pilots performed that have shown doubling of success rates in English courses, a quadrupling of success rates in math courses where programs have been redesigned and colleges have taken a different approach to basic skills instruction. So getting more districts to adopt more effective practices is an excellent goal. But given all of the other reform initiatives at the community colleges, including student success and support programs, student equity plans, institutional effectiveness plans, we have serious concerns about the community college's capacity to undertake another large-scale reform initiative. So we would recommend that you consider a smaller pilot program initially that could grow in the future and that colleges might more readily be able to absorb.
Okay, next. Community colleges?
Yes, I certainly concur with the approach of the administration that that basic skills is a very important issue for all the reasons said, and of course, in fact, in many ways, it's the key to student success. If we can't make successes out of those students who come to us 2 levels below college level, then we're going to have a tough time cracking the nut and meeting the goals of getting more certificated staff and folks to transfer to CSU, as the PPIC has indicated that we have a significant educated workforce shortage ahead of us. There probably are different approaches to take in order to get there. It's certainly the LEO's point about the amount of initiatives going on within the community colleges right now is well taken. So it's possible that a smaller amount of funds could be used to meet some of the same goals. It's noted that we do have an ongoing basic skills initiative program as well. So one option is to look at ways of reinvigorating that proposal going forward as well.
Okay, just a big picture on this. This is a big piece of the community college population, and certainly if this is successful, that would save money down the road and all sorts of other issues. And so, I guess two questions, and I guess it's kind of for finance. So, is this the right number? And if it's successful, is the idea to potentially increase more than a one-time approach of this?
So this funding is designed to create change through proposals from the community college districts and as we mentioned, in areas that the evidence-based models for modifying the system to improve the student outcomes. So this is about creating the change. Any of the startup costs or costs for example, faculty to go receive professional development training to implement these revisions. That's what this funding is for on an ongoing basis. As Mr. Troy mentioned, there is an ongoing categorical in place for about $20 million that could be modified to incorporate some of the lessons learned through this grant program.
Sure, and I would add that the structure of this program is for multi-year grants. I don't think we expect the change to occur overnight, but we expect that change to take a couple of years. So this would be one-time funding to fund those multi-year grants.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, regarding the second part of the proposal, the partnership project, we recommend rejecting that $2 million proposal. Again, the goals are very laudable, improving coordination and basic skills instruction between community colleges and CSU. But the specific proposal doesn't appear to be well developed. It appears that neither segment was really involved in developing the proposal. Many questions remain unanswered, such as what partnerships already exist between the segments for remediation. Our understanding was that CSU campuses already were supposed to be referring students to community colleges as part of the Early Start program, and if that's not happening, what's keeping campuses from doing that, and how would this grant help? Are campuses interested in participating, and more specifically, how would the funding be used? Because it's not for the instruction, the students would qualify for apportionment funding. So given so many unanswered questions and so little time to vet the proposal, we recommend rejecting.
Okay. No questions on this item. We'll go forward to issue number 6.
So the May revision includes several one-time funding proposals. There's $148 million for facilities maintenance and repair, as well as instructional equipment. There's also an additional $275 million for mandate debt payments. And aside from one-time proposals, there's also, as mentioned previously, an ongoing increase of $142 million in base apportionment funding for pension and other operational cost increases over the years.
Okay. Leo?
Judy Hyman. We recommend approving the funding for the mandate backlog. This is consistent with the state's past approach of using one-time funds to pay down outstanding obligations. We also recommend approving the maintenance and instructional support funding. Again, using one-time funds to reduce the billion-dollar backlog could avoid costlier repairs and maintenance in the future, and also give campuses the opportunity to update instructional equipment, including bringing their career technical education equipment up to industry standards. Regarding the $142 million unallocated base augmentation that the governor links to increased operating expenses such as retirement benefits, facilities, full-time faculty, professional development, the governor mentions those types of cost pressures but doesn't restrict the funds for this purpose, and provides these funds in addition to $125 million in unallocated apportionment funding provided in January for a total of $267 million of unrestricted funding. We recommend redirecting the May revision portion of this base augmentation to further reduce the mandate backlog or deferred maintenance. Again, consistent with our overall recommendation to limit ongoing spending increases, this could help to provide a cushion in the event that revenues decline in subsequent years. It would give clearer guidance to colleges about your expectations for how they use the funding, and it would reduce existing liabilities, putting the state and colleges in a better financial position in the future.
Yeah. Can you spend some time just walking through this piece again for the one-time money?
Certainly.
What's in the governor's revised,
Absolutely.
what you actually proposed doing differently?
Right. So in January, the governor proposed $125 million in unallocated apportionment funds to address various cost increases. In May, the governor increased that recommendation by $142 million, bringing the total to $267 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of unallocated money.
So 267 one time.
It is ongoing.
Ongoing.
267, so more than $250 million ongoing funding, with no particular expectations associated with it. If you were to use it for one-time purposes, it would, if the guarantee doesn't go down in the future, those funds will still be there and could be allocated to something else next year. However, if the guarantee goes down, this would help prevent having to cut ongoing program if you apply it to one-time purposes in the budget year. But it is budget year funding, so if the guarantee remains the same or increases, those funds will be available in subsequent years for reallocation.
Okay, so even though it would go out via apportionment, you're saying specify for one-time purposes.
Right. The purpose would be one-time, would give you more flexibility should the guarantee drop, but otherwise those funds remain there for community college purposes.
Okay.
And again, Dan Troy with the Chancellor's Office for the record, just to separate the issues a bit. For the one-time proposals, the $148 million for deferred maintenance, we're very supportive of that for the reasons stated. We've got a backlog of about $1 billion queued up over recent years, and certainly this is an investment that helps maintain what it was in many cases state investments in new buildings. We like to make sure that they're maintained and so they can exist for many more years. We're also very supportive of the fundings for the mandate debt repayments for the reasons specified already. In terms of the ongoing issue about the base allocation increase, which Ms. Hyman just spoke about, again, this is the funding that I referenced at the top of our agenda here. We went 5 years without COLAs. The loss of purchasing power is about $1 billion cumulatively. Unlike K-12s, we don't have a deficit factor where there was an expectation that we were going to get that money back. So we have the same pressures and needs to fund over time to keep the lights on, so to speak. And again, looking forward, we do have those PERS and STIRS increases. The funds, even though this is a large amount of money, I'd acknowledge in the budget proposed, it does not even quite meet the full cost of the future PERS and STIRS ongoing obligation that will be in the budget, which we calculated about $400 million. So colleges do need this money in order to be able to make those payments.
Okay. With that, we will proceed with public comment from these catch-all community college issues. Okay, we're going to try to keep it 2-minute maximum, but preferably a minute or less.
Mr. Chairman, Patrick Callum, representing the Los Rios Community College District and other districts. Very quickly, kind of go through the issues. We strongly support the governor's proposed budget. We would, with a couple of tweaks, we'd support it all. We're aware that there are other priorities, so what we're going to do is address what we'd like you to hold on to and why, and where some areas why we would propose it. There may be less. So in general, we agree with the LAO, except for the area and base allocation. Access, we strongly believe that we could grow 3% to about 70,000 students. People are gearing up to getting back within it. You'll look at dual enrollment. You'll look at UC-CSU not adding new slots, curriculum, inmate education. We think we can handle a 3% growth. Base allocation, we really strongly support the governor. This is the one area we disagree with our friends at LAO. Keep that $260 million. That's going to be 50% of that has to go for faculty salaries. The rest of that we're going to try to get into saving for future PERS and STIRS increase. Mandates, we support the item the governor proposed. Physical plant, we support it. In basic skills, we generally agree with the LEO. This is the most critical public policy issue, basic skills. What we propose is you take about $2 million and that we have this chancellor do an integrated study that looks at growth, looks at adult education, looks at dual enrollment, the basic skills categorical, comes back to you and say, what's an integrated approach with all the categoricals, how to deal with this fundamental issue. And then you could put $8 million out, not as a grant, but to the districts. They're all doing best practices, whether it's what we call modulated, contextualized, or accelerated learning. This is an area, if you have other priorities that you want to fund, part-time faculty or whatever, that you could look at. The CSU basic skills funding, a high priority, but we agree with the LAO too if you want to use that category for other areas. And then with the LAO mentioning the $15 million added to student equity, all great priorities within it, but that's another source you could use for other priorities. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. My name is Matthew LaRock. I work at the Institute for College Access and Success. I'm unable to say until the end of the hearing today, but my comment relates directly to community college students as well as Prop 98 and additionally students at other colleges. Specifically, although Cal grants are not on today's agenda, I just want to take a moment to talk about college affordability, which remains a substantial challenge for low-income students in all colleges, and community colleges, which enroll the majority of low-income students, are certainly no exception. As important as the Cal Grant program is, there aren't nearly enough Cal Grants to go around, and the grants for the lowest income students hold just a fraction of their original purchasing power. So that's why we urge you to take steps within the budget process to bring college within reach At the community colleges, where fees are low but total costs can exceed $18,000, perhaps there's some way to be able to use some of the available Prop 98 dollars for financial aid purposes. But more broadly, we do urge you and the subcommittee to support increases in the number of available competitive Cal Grants and the size of the Cal Grant B Access Award, both of which will help low-income students at all types of colleges. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Estella Mew with the California Teachers Association and the Community College Association. Overall, we generally support the governor's budget, and again, we would encourage the legislature to stay the course with the governor's proposed Prop 98 numbers. In particularly, we support the additional funding for full-time faculty. At the same time, we would like to see those funds tied to the faculty obligation number, FON, to assure accountability for increasing full-time faculty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, Kathy Van Osten with MBM Strategy Group representing the John Burton Foundation. And I'm here today to talk specifically about the equity funding, the additional equity funding put into the budget, the May revise, with a focus on foster youth. And I want to specifically focus on that point. SB 1023 was passed by both houses of the legislature last year, signed by the governor. And what that did was it established a program that really directs and targets foster youth within the Extended Opportunity Program and Services program within the community colleges. So we went within an existing program but just really created a specialty within that program because it's the right program. It's the one that would work. And it recognizes the fact that the statistics for our foster youth are really abysmal. I mean, just the fact that anybody who emancipates out of foster care without a permanent family, 50% of those kids are either homeless, they're in prison, or dead within 2 years. That is an absolute statistic. So the fact that they make it to a community college is fantastic. What we do know is that within the community colleges, there are 10 campuses that have the most students, about 2,500 foster youth. Only 3 of those campuses allocate dollars directly to foster youth services and programs. It equates to about $49 per student, and that is just not enough. So what SB 1023 did is it acknowledged that these youth are often playing catch-up. They may not be able to carry the full load of 12 credits in order to qualify for EOPS. They may not get to the campus in time to access because the programs fill up. So what we'd like to see, we appreciate so much the governor increasing the equity plan funding. It seems an appropriate source for this program and for this target population that desperately needs our support and guidance. We'd like to see them achieve the AA degrees. At age 26, 8% of these students actually achieve an AA or transfer onto another institution. That compares to 47% of the general population. So we have the equity plan program that seems to work. It's targeted. The funding is there. In May revise, we'd like to see that still directed to foster youth. This is probably the one population that, unfortunately, because they are on their own, they are couch surfing, they are coming from behind a little bit, they have frankly the poorest performance rates. So, and I'm sorry, I know I'm taking a lot of time, so I'm going to wrap it up. So what we would like to do is encourage the committee to fund the foster youth program designated in SB 1023. We'd love to work with the committee to make sure that happens.
Good afternoon. Ashley Situde with Nossaman on behalf of North Orange County Community College District. Overall, we are very supportive of all of the May revisions held today that you were discussing. Specifically, we would like to really show our support for the base allocation increase that's going to allow us to help take pressure off of PERS and STIRS for the future, as well as full-time faculty funding increase. That's very important to student success, and we are very supportive of that. And also the increase in student equity plan funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your leadership, and also thank to the work of the staff. We do want to extend our appreciation to the governor for his proposed increase for the community colleges, and specifically discuss a couple of points. First, the full-time faculty proposal. We would align our comments with the California Teachers Association. I'm sorry, Jonathan Lightman on behalf of the Faculty Association, California Community Colleges. We would align our concern with the California Teachers Association. We want to assure that 100% of that money goes to increase the percentage of credit classroom instruction taught by full-time faculty. We are very pleased with the proposed $141.7 million to increase the base allocation. We'd align our position with the Chancellor's Office to say that this does reflect lost COLA. We do support the COLA for EOPS and the other categoricals. We are extremely concerned, however, that EOPS was not restored in this budget. We have a year's worth of experience to suggest that the equity funds is not a good way to fund EOPS. This is a functioning and very productive statewide program. It's been in business for 47 years and should remain so. And it is in the center of most campuses, and it is the model student success program. Also, for part-time faculty, we also don't agree that this is an issue for local concern. Students across the state should have access to their instructors, whether they be in San Diego or whether they be in Butte, and the other part-time categoricals as well. Finally, we just want to acknowledge that FAC was part of a group coalition letter to provide $250,000 for the Academic Senate for some very specific work, and that we hope that that consideration will remain as we conclude the budget process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Lizette Everett on behalf of the Community College League of California. Again, want to thank the administration for a very strong proposal and the investment in community colleges, as we see their high need populations and in times where those students need a place to go, community colleges are always there for them. So we thank for the investment. Specifically, we want to thank the administration for the unallocated resources, as been stated by several before me. These resources will ensure that we can cover retirement costs, as well as the increasing health benefit costs and other energy costs that have continued to go up. We are strongly in support of the governor's vision and direction for equity. It's time to address the long-standing systemic equity issues that exist on our campuses that affect all of our students, and we need an approach and plans that can help all of our students close those equity gaps. We're supportive of the $75 million augmentation for full-time faculty. Our point would be to ensure that those can be flexible resources so that they can address other faculty-related issues such as part-time faculty, office hours, etc. And overall, we're also in support of the direction of the basic skills grants, but want to ensure that all colleges can participate from those resources. All of our colleges have basic skills needs, and this can be beneficial to ensuring that students complete on time. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Rona Sheriff from the California EDGE Coalition, a coalition of business, labor, and social justice organizations. We are very strongly in support of the basic skills proposal for community colleges. Our coalition has always felt that basic skills is the major barrier to students who are entering colleges, whether they want to pursue a career path or whether they want to go on to continued post-secondary education. We think that this proposal, by lifting up evidence-based practices, can be transformative to what's happening in our colleges and how we're serving those students. While we agree there are a lot of initiatives out there, we think that by drilling in on these practices, we move the needle on all these initiatives, on student success, on equity, and so forth. And, in closing, I just say that we think it's a very strong proposal and we're in support. Thank you.
Chairman Cardy, David Bala Hawkins with the California Community College Independent Faculty Union. We are appreciative of the governor for his proposal. We appreciate your leadership on these issues. Two areas of concern. The full-time faculty augmentation, while we support it, we do want to ensure that it does augment the percentage for full-time, part-time ratio. And so we'll be looking for budget language to help ensure that that occurs and the funds are not used for other purposes. Secondly, on the equity funding versus categorical programs, we would like the funding to go into specific categorical programs. My colleague from FACT mentioned EOPS. We also are very supportive of part-time faculty office hours. We have students throughout the state that just don't have access. They're paying the same fees, paying the same amount for textbooks, taking the same classes, but because they're taught by a part-time faculty member, they do not have office access and time for mentoring and advising. So we would like funding in that area. Thank you.
Good afternoon, shared members. My name is Sarah Arce on behalf of the Campaign for College Opportunity. We're a broad-based bipartisan nonprofit made up of business, civil rights, and community leaders. We'd first like to thank the administration for prioritizing investments in remedial education redesign through the proposed Community College Basic Skills and Student Outcomes Transformation Program. As mentioned earlier, over 70% of students entering community colleges are assessed as underprepared for college-level work. Yet we know that there are really high-impact practices that make a real difference and significantly reduce the time students spend in remediation. Therefore, we believe that this investment is the greatest lever for student outcomes. And I just want to note that if we reached all students in remedial courses, we could see seat time savings of over $100 million. So we really feel that this is an efficient and effective use of one-time funds. And lastly, I just want to say that to echo the sentiments earlier, we support an increase in the number of competitive Cal Grant awards to better serve the hundreds of thousands of low-income students who are eligible for Cal Grants but are currently being shut out. Thank you.
Susanna Niffen with Children Now. We're just here to thank the governor for the targeted equity funds for foster youth. A couple of points. We strongly disagree with the LAO's assessment that this money is not necessary. We did a review of current equity funding, and only 78% of the community colleges are currently, targeting equity funds for foster youth. They're abused, they're neglected, and then so often they enter our community colleges where once again they're neglected and ignored. And we really ask the legislature to make sure there's some targeted funding for these young people. Also, just to note that last year this committee did target funding for this program and for SB 1023 implementations. We're simply asking that once again this year you make sure the money goes to these youth.
Danielle Molay, California Alliance of Child and Family Services, also here for equity funding for foster youth for the reasons already stated.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Megan Brightwell on behalf of the California Federation of Teachers here would like to express our support for the $75 million for additional full-time faculty, and we'd also like to work with you, Mr. Chair, and your committee on additional accountability language to ensure that those monies are spent on full-time faculty. And to your comment earlier, Mr. Chair, about the reduced funding that we've seen in the past years on part-time office hours for part-time faculty, we would also support a proposal that increased or restored the cuts that particular program has seen in the past years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Erica Romero on behalf of the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities. We're very grateful for the additional funding for enrollment growth and so students can get the classes they need. We're also very grateful for the equity funding so that we can address the equity and achievement graduation gap in our community colleges. And actually, as the economy continues to improve, we'd love to have a discussion if we could provide additional funding for all segments, since that graduation gap doesn't just exist in one segment. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Fabio Gonzalez, the California Community College EOP&S Association. We are very grateful to the governor for the much-needed COLA allocation to EOP&S and other categoricals. While we appreciate and applaud the allocation for COLA, we have to acknowledge that our current funding does not allow us to function correctly. I think last year we received the same promises that were made to us about seeking this funding locally. And we are a year later, and EOP&S didn't receive any allocation locally. So we're coming to you on seeking your support in making sure there are academically disadvantaged and low-income students should deserve better. Our programs across the state serve foster youth, veterans, AB 540 students, students with disability, to single moms and dads. We need of your leadership. We need of your support. We need to make sure that EOP&S and CARE are fully restored for the upcoming year. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the community college section. We'll hold these items open. Next, we have the higher ed piece, the UC CSU State Library and the Awards for Higher Education. But first, we're going to take a 5-minute little recess to stretch.